Welcome to the Fashion Department, a podcast that will explore the world of fashion and how it informs all aspects of life, from dress and lifestyle to food and travel. And now, let me introduce you to your fabulous host, Tina Bercoli, a Greenwich, Connecticut-based wardrobe stylist and radio show personality with over 20 years in the fashion industry. Tina will share her take on style, trends, the business of fashion, and on being grateful. And now, here's your host.
Hello, fashion friends. I'm Tina, your host, and welcome my co-host, partner in crime, comrade, mate, husband, buddy, fashion police partner, Cole Clemens. Hi, Cole.
Hi, Tina. How are you?
Good. Thanks for joining us once again on the Fashion Department, in the Fashion Department. And we got some great hot topics for you on this episode. I wanted to kick things off, pun intended, and talk about shoes. Let's talk about shoes. This is an area of the fashion industry that Cole knows very, very well. He's got a ton of experience in designer shoes and, the best of them. I wanted to talk about something that we're seeing a lot of these past few seasons. It's the return of Y2K. We're seeing lots of heavy influence, both in wardrobe and shoes, ready-to-wear and shoes of 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. And, I don't know how I feel about the whole Y2K thing. I feel like it was a little too soon. I feel like that wasn't long ago enough to bring it back. But okay, I'm going with it. It's so funny. I said something to someone in a store recently, a younger kid. I want to call him a kid, and I mean that in an endearing way. Kid, I said
millennial, Gen Zer.
I don't even know. I can't even keep them straight anymore. I'm like, where's the cutoff of millennial and the Gen Z? I don't know. I'm an old woman that lives in a fabulous shoe.
Yes.
But anyway, that being said, it was a young person that was definitely younger, and we were talking about Y2K, and they were very excited about it. And I said, oh my gosh, yeah, it's like all those things in TLC, meaning the group TLC. And he said, what's TLC? And I was like, oh, wow, I just dated myself once. And I said, oh, God, sorry, I'm a granny. I'm a granny, sorry. And I said, well, it was a music group that was really popular. But he literally said, what's TLC? And I was like, Tender Loving Care. No, I don't know.
No scrubs, people, no scrubs.
Right. I know.
Gosh.
Did you know what TLC was? And I was like, oh, that's so funny because here we are with these trends coming from early 2000s and the 90s. And some people didn't know them the first time around. So I guess that happens, but, and I was, because I also feel like there's a heavy influence from the music world, as always, as there should be. And my gosh, TLC was like, the baggy jeans and the little short tops, the athletic tops that they had, and all that fun stuff.
I think that's why history repeats itself in fashion, because it reintroduces it to people that are coming up. You know what I mean? So
yeah, a new generation. And I like when I always say there's always a twist. It's always that, but a twist on it. So when we see 70s, it's not the same as 1972. It's going to be something, it's a better fabric, a better silhouette, a better product than back then. It's just looks similar, but better. So it's always a new twist. All right, so let's get into it. So first thing, we talked about this on the last show, but I have to mention platforms. They're my favorite.
Yes.
And here's my thought on this. I'm going to say to anyone, wear the highest you can wear without falling. That's my advice. Wear the highest stinking heels you can.
I'm speechless. Yep.
That's my advice. Some people actually ask me that, like, how do you wear those high heels? I'm like, practice. Wear the highest you can wear. And they're like, oh, I always want, well, wear them. But if you can't, fair enough, then don't. So there's nothing worse than seeing, I think, an unattractive thing is when a woman can't walk in heels. First of all, I feel sorry for her. And then I want to say, okay, well, if you can't do it, don't do it. Don't look, uncoordinated. But you can go as high as you can go. You can do a 2-inch platform. You can do it, whatever. And so the other thing high on my list was the glass heel trend, which is basically just lucite shoes. So I like this. I think this is bringing back glamour and ladylike dressing.
Yes.
And I think after however long, 2+ years of a pandemic, I think there is a strong return. I don't think I know. There's a strong return of ladylike fashion, socialite dressing, as I like to call it. Basically, the return of elegance and opulence and getting dressed up because we now have events to go to, right? Also on my list, gladiator sandals. Again,
Yes.
not new, but I think what I love about gladiator sandals, so these are the things that tie all the way up your ankle. They can go up your ankle, up your calf. They can kind of crisscross and tie, or they can just be a little bit lower. What I love, there's many different ways to style these, and there's many different versions. So of something that it can be a high heel that ties around your ankle and doesn't maybe go all the way up, and it looks almost disco-y. It can be a flat, completely flat sandal that's made of that's maybe brown leather with suede cording that ties up your ankle, looking very Grecian.
Yes.
It can also look a little Navajo-ish. It can even look a little hippy-dippy. By the way, I have these sayings you're going to hear on the show. I call it like my language. So hippy-dippy, that's a phrase I use. It's just my own lingo. I don't know. It's just, a nod to...
Free-spirited.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on any of these so far, Cole? What are you loving? What are you seeing the most of?
Definitely into the sandal section, like taking off of the gladiator motif. I definitely see that. And the great thing about that is you can like exaggerate the tie around of the ankle lower. So then it doesn't have to go all the way up, producing like this whole moment where you have to like showcase the whole leg. But I also see like a return of sandals and tivas that are lower, that are not all tied up, and like more like sporty like motifs, like with neoprene and other sort of interesting fabrications, which also piggybacks and kind of bleeds into like it's all about comfort too. Comfort within the shearling world, shearling sandals, faux fur shearling sandals, hybrids between shoes and slippers. Like we're seeing that whole thing as well to come off of the gladiator thing. But yeah, and also Mary Jane's returned.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, here we go again. But yes.
And a high-heeled version as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which
I want to just mention something you said. It's also on my list. You mentioned kind of a hybrid type of shoe. I have that on my list under athletic shoe. Ooh. So I don't mean just a sneaker. I mean, I've seen this several seasons now, and I almost feel like it became bigger just before the pandemic or maybe even during, which would make sense because it's about comfort. So hybrid shoe, we're seeing a lot of something that looks like a hiking boot. So it's got like a lug sole or like a chunky, picture the bottom of a hiking boot, and then the top of it looks like a sneaker. So it laces up, or it velcros, or it slips on almost like a scuba shoe. You mentioned the neoprene, and then the bottom of it is not flat like a scuba shoe, but it's got like a thicker sole. So we're seeing lots and lots and lots of hybrid type shoes, and those were leaning towards, I think, more like, function of comfort, which I love. I also agree with you on comfort, but make it look chic. Please.
Yes, very amphibious. They want to go from land to water, darling. They want to do all the things.
We're going to do all the things. We're going to have all the outfits to go with it. I agree. And also I wanted to mention boots, not just for winter.
Okay.
Thigh-high boots are back. Again, I was kind of like, well, this again wasn't too long ago. They were all the rage, It's been I remember writing blog entries and writing like OTK, over the knee, it became a thing, and how to wear them, and can short girls wear them? And, I've had lots of people ask me that, how do you wear over the knee boots? You're only 5'3", and well, let me show you. It's all about proportions. And it's not my favorite silhouette. It's not my number one silhouette because I'm not super tall. So it's a very specific look when you are shorter. But I'm seeing a lot of them. So boots, specifically thigh high. But let me say this. Thigh high is higher than just over the knee. Let me be clear about that. So thigh high, I like, but again, you've got to be careful of your proportions, as well as over the knee. Over the knee, you could get away with a little more, but thigh high is going to be very specific, and you're always going to wear it with like a mini skirt or a dress. I do not like when I see people with over the knee. It depends if it's more equestrian or not, but a thigh high boot with pants. I don't like it. I just don't. It needs to be with a cute skirt or, and something shorter. It doesn't have to be super short, but shorter as it moves. And maybe frilly, kind of A-line, so it goes away from the body. And as it moves, it kind of, you can kind of just get a peek that you have on a thigh-high boot. I think it's cute. Or when you sit down, you see just a little peek.
Absolutely.
Just a peek.
Just a peek. And to piggyback off the equestrian thing, to done in like a capri style trouser with the thigh high showing. I was just watching one of the music videos that Miley Cyrus did, and she had this on. I was like, oh my gosh, I love that. And it was just another way to do it. And it's like
So tell us about that. It was shorter pant?
It was a shorter pant, almost like a capri style, and high waisted. So it was a kind of equestrian, like very sartorial. And then she had this patent leather black boot underneath it. It was super edgy. She had this sleeveless pussy bow, yellow and black printed top tucked in.
Ooh.
And it was very, rock glam. But I was like, oh, there's another way to wear a thigh high.
Exactly. And, I like the fact that you're saying that, Cole, you were watching something, a music video or a pop star or whatever it may be, and you saw another way. That's how I love to draw inspiration. Exactly the same. And I think you and I can both agree on where and how we get our inspiration is pretty much everywhere. So it's from, and I tell my clients this when we're talking about, we're doing personal one-on-one styling. You really can draw inspiration anywhere. It can be from a fashion magazine. It can be from your favorite celebrity on the red carpet. It can be from a movie. It could be from music. It could be from art. It could be from just people watching. I think that's one of my favorite ways. And, I'm without mentioning my age, a middle-aged woman, I still love to people watch just to critique them. No, kidding. No, just to kind of get, interesting. And sometimes I'll say, I don't love that. But it's not about liking or loving it. It's just about, again, getting a new idea, getting a different way to wear it. And maybe it's not for me personally, maybe it's for one of my clients. But I love that you mentioned that. You saw it and thought, another way to wear it. I do the same.
Yeah, we're always learning, and that's just great to stay open and then know what doesn't work for you and what will work for you and what you want to push yourself towards. Because also it's a collaboration. It's always a collaboration.
And it's important to evolve, I think,
yes,
too. It's important
absolutely.
to know, like you said, know what works for you, whether it's a silhouette or a shoe, it's a heel height even, but also know when to pivot and also know when to maybe step out of your comfort zone, but always go back to base. So what's your favorite shoe silhouette to wear? You personally?
Me personally? Okay, so I really only like white shoes. I'm really weird unless I'm in a suit.
Interesting.
So okay. I would say I either wear 60 to 70% of the time a white sneaker because I pair that with even a suit sometimes to make it more modern and comfy and cool. Or it's a colored sneaker, or I love like a white like boot. Like it could be a tie up like lug sole boot. I love white. I do. I do.
I'm just thinking about that now. But wait a minute. I remember one time. Sorry not to interrupt you. But I've got to interject with a story. Story time by Cole and Tina. Literally when you said white and I love a white, something just popped into my head. So here we go. I'm going to set the scene.
Okay.
L.A. Okay, you know where I'm going with this. L.A. I believe what road is that? Wilshire Boulevard.
Okay.
I am perched sitting outside. It's one of the famous hotels. I think it's the Regency Beverly Wilshire. The hotel where they filmed Pretty Woman. Yes, that's the Regency Beverly Wilshire. I was sitting outside at a table having a cocktail with our Cole and I's other friend from LA, and we were waiting for Cole to arrive because, side note, Cole's usually a little late. And we see down the block. Now, I am nearsighted, so I didn't have my glasses on. But I see coming at us these orange sneakers. Do you remember these?
Yes, the Gucci's. I couldn't get rid of them for forever. I even brought them to Leather Spa for them to replicate the color, to spray paint them. I couldn't let it go.
Spray paint them? Did they do that?
They did it. I mean, it cost half of what the shoe already cost, but I wanted to hang on to them for dear life, I didn't want the Titanic ship to go down. I was like holding on for dear life.
Holding on for dear life.
Yes. And then I finally let them go a couple years ago.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh,
But that's my happy color, orange. I love it.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So that's what I saw. These
Mm-hmm.
orange, bright orange sneakers running towards me. And Cole is, you're probably average height, right? But I feel
5'10",
like
yeah.
your legs are long.
Yes.
And when Cole wants to walk, his stride, it's like 5 of my itty bitty steps. And Cole takes one stride. And I'm almost like, trying to keep up like that. And yes, I saw these orange sneakers coming at us, running down Beverly Wilshire Boulevard.
This giraffe with orange shoes. Just...
Yes. And I remember our friend said, "Oh, here he comes. I see the orange sneakers." It was.
I love it.
But you do love a white shoe. You're right.
I love a white shoe.
You're right. All right, and I noticed something else. My summer shoe options
Mm-hmm.
in my own personal closet by far outweigh my winter shoe options.
Really?
I guess because yes.
Wow.
Yes. How do you
Well, that
feel?
makes
Is
sense
opposite?
for you, I think. Like
Because of all the open toe shoes.
Yeah, and you love that with the platform. I mean, or
Yes,
platform sneaker.
I do. Yeah. Right.
I mean, we're in the fashion world, it's really great because we're seeing men have or they, or however you identify, see more options for people to wear what we would consider, more masculine or, whatever, to be more tweaked and twisted and have more options to compete with women or others, however they identify as they, it's interesting. So I always say that, traditionally women have more options and I'm kind of envious of that.
Yeah,
but, we're trying
it's
on the
changing.
other side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. And I love the fact that it's changing. I'm right there with you. I agree. But I just think in general, there's definitely more options in clothes, in ready to wear, in everything than women. We have more things in general, more pieces. But yeah, my shoe wardrobe, let's call it, is definitely way bigger than my winter wardrobe. And I think it's just because of all the open toe and the heels and lots of like strappy sandals. I have a lot. You would think it'd be the opposite living in, the northeast part of the country.
I just have a side note question. Do you think that your collection of shoes is bigger or your clutches? Because I know you love clutches and bags. Like which
one is bigger?
Yeah.
Well, clutches is definitely, it's a big part, but I would say handbags.
Handbags in general.
Yeah, because handbags, which one is bigger, shoes or handbags running through my closet mentally?
And we can specifically be thinking of summer, of what would be coming out of your closet during summer.
Oh.
To be more specific.
Well, then, okay, I would say in general, more shoes in general
Okay.
of summer and winter than bags, right?
Okay.
Maybe, not by much, but yeah, more shoes, I would say. Because I've got think about like boots and sneakers and all different types of shoes. Bags, yes, I have different ones, but they're not as much of a range.
Okay.
However, if we're breaking down summer shoes versus summer bags, it's summer bags.
Okay.
I have a lot of summer bags.
You do, from all parts of the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know me so well.
Oh,
you know
your
me
eye,
so
your
well.
eye.
Tulum. Do you remember Tulum?
Speechless.
So
Speechless.
Can we tell that story? Go ahead.
Yeah.
Let's tell this.
You have to set it up. You have to set it up so I can enter in at the right point.
So Cole and I are on vacation with a group of friends. My husband was with us and a bunch of friends. One of Cole's friends joined up with us. I, of course, needed to take a sneak peek away and kind of like do a little retail therapy, as I like to do when I travel, because I always find the best things when I'm traveling. And I found this bag. Oh, that's right. You were not with me, but then you saw it after. I don't think you were you?
No, you got it, and then I saw it and I died.
Yeah. Okay. So I bought this bag and I said I think I showed you, and then we were showing your friend, and he said, "Oh, what did you do?" And I said, "Oh, I bought a house." And he said, "What?" And the guy, your friend, looked at my husband and thought, "Oh, wow, good for you. You bought a house," and just like that. So basically, it was this bag that is, I guess it's lucite. It looks like it's glass, and it's the shape of a house. It's actually a house. I need to post this on my Instagram.
And it opens from the roof, right?
It opens from the roof. The roof has a little hook, like a change purse hook, and it opens up, the roof opens up, you put your stuff in. The whole thing is clear glass, but painted like a white color. Almost looks like the glass is frosted. And then it has raffia on the roof, like as if it's like a thatched roof, as raffia. And then a string for, or cord for the strap. So I would carry. Yeah, and it's small. I don't know, it's maybe like 8 by 10. And it has little like doors and windows, almost like drawn on it. Almost looks like someone drew on it. And yeah, it's a house. It's a house bag.
It's just art. It was just your eye. It's great. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So yeah, I would definitely say handbags. So
okay.
Anyway, switching gears a little bit, since we're talking about what we like, let's talk about what's to come and what we're seeing. Fall is quickly approaching.
Yes.
I know people always say, no, don't rush it. I'm not rushing it. I'm enjoying summer, but fall is right around the corner. And what happens is fall clothing is in retail stores now. So it starts in July. So I always get this question, and I just like to break it down for people so it makes sense, okay? Why are there fall clothes in stores in July? Well, here's why. Because we see, Cole and I, or people in the industry, stylists, buyers, editors, whatever, influencers, creators, we see these pieces months before. The fashion industry is always 2 seasons ahead because we have to be, because things have to get made and produced and bought and purchased and then shipped. And then once I say that to people, they go, oh, okay, I get it. So whatever was in Fashion Week is usually in February, or is in February and in September in New York and so on, other cities. So what we saw in February is coming out. So we saw it already, and then it's months later when it comes out. So it's coming for this fall. And what we see in September hits the stores the following February-ish. Right, March. So that's why. So it's got to be made and produced. Buyers have to buy it, place orders. Then it has to be manufactured and shipped to wherever. So all of that takes time. So having said that, I've seen pretty much everything back in February, and then I kind of keep a little visual diary for things for clients or for myself of what I'm going to be looking for from specific brands that I shop often or that I know will work for someone. So it starts to hit the stores in July. And then it also gives retailers time to put things on sale. That's why we start to see July and August markdowns and then heavy markdowns of summer stuff because they've got to get that stuff out. They've got the fall stuff coming in. They need to move. Real estate is, is prime in most stores, so they've got to shift it. So that's why I also usually do a show, which I'll have to do a podcast on when to buy the things on sale. That's also great. Like to know when to wait on certain things and when to pull the trigger and to say like, oh, if you want to buy a swimsuit, July, August, provided it's still in the store, provided the store, because it's going to be marked down. It's like buying a trench coat at the end of a rainy season, so at the end of spring, or buying a winter coat once spring comes around. So that's why we're talking about and we're seeing fall stuff. You and I have been, I think also people like us, we're used to seeing warm weather clothing for months now, so we're kind of over it. And so we're not rushing it. We're kind of tired of seeing it. I mean, if you talk to anybody that works in a brick and mortar store, they'll be like, by July, I always joke, after July 4th, it's like, we're ready for fall. You must work in the fashion industry. So what's coming? Let's talk about that. And let's get into the scoop du jour, because I think we've got to talk about the fashion forecast for fall and how fabulous it is. One thing I'm seeing, I think this season, the season's best clothes are pieces to live in, to give longevity, transitional pieces, pieces that are beautiful, pieces that you feel good in, and pieces that can kind of have more than one job, let's call it. So you're getting more bang for your buck, in other words. So you're not just wearing, I bought this little cocktail dress and I'm only going to wear it to a cocktail party. No, you're not. You're going to wear it other places too. You're just going to style it a little bit different.
It's a multifaceted piece.
I think that's what this season's clothes are for the majority. And one of the things I've noticed were longer hemlines. We saw this on the runway of Louis Vuitton, Rick Owens, Tory Burch, Sacai, longer hemlines, which I love. Why? Because becomes more versatile. You can wear it all year round. You can wear it with a sandal, a sneaker, a high boot, a strappy sandal, an evening wear shoe. A long hemline you can do a lot more with in any part of the country.
I would
you
say
agree?
so too. And it's just more comfortable mentally for people, I think.
Yes. That's funny you say that. I'm wearing a long maxi skirt today, but I would wear a long skirt any day over pants. It's just more comfortable.
Yeah.
It's more, especially when traveling, by the way. It's my thing. Like to wear that on a plane. I'm also loving sleeves. Oh my gosh, the huge rounded sculptural sleeves. So people are going to go, I know people might be afraid of this because this is dramatic.
Yep.
And if you would say like, oh, I'm not into this, you can try it. There's going to be different modifications of this. So everything I'm talking about here today are things that I've seen on the runways, and why? Because then they get filtered down to mainstream. So everything, Cole can tell you this too, everything that we see in fashion always gets filtered down and modified. So by the time it gets to Zara, J. Crew, H&M, it's not going to look exactly like what was on the runway, because that's more of a fantasy, the designer's vision. It's not quite a reality.
Absolutely.
Right? Would you agree?
It's like the famous quote from, Devil Wears Prada. She didn't think that she was, part of the industry, but she's wearing the sweater that got filtered down, and she fetched it out of a bin and was definitely influenced by all these other major runway collections, but she had no idea. So, it's part of that whole thing. It's part of that whole thing.
Yeah, I love that reference, of course. So I was seeing a lot of the sleeves. They're very sculptural, very rounded, and probably till it hits the average store, I'm going to say it's probably just going to be like a little bit of a balloon sleeve. And I love that. And basically all you need to do is keep everything else very simple. So classic wide leg jean, pair of tailored pants. Keep it really simple and don't get too, it's almost like wearing art. Also, I've seen lots of fringe on the runways. Again, not new. We've been seeing this season after season, but I feel like it's a lot more and in many different ways. Fringe, feathers.
Yes.
Why I love this is movement. This creates emotion.
Yes.
I love it. It used to be fringe, feathers and sequins were only for evening. I remember it was like when I was a kid, it was like that's holiday dressing. Sequins for day are now a thing. By the way, thanks to Jenna Lyons when she used to be at J. Crew. That's a whole nother show. But now it's like we're seeing it on bathrobes. Okay, that's a very glamorous bathrobe, but that's the point. We're seeing it everywhere on the bottom of a hem of a skirt, little feathers sticking out, on a jacket, on wherever. It's becoming more and more mainstream for things like embellishment to be worn all different ways, different times of day. It's not just relegated to holiday dressing, or like evening wear.
I think every silhouette is like basically getting its chance to like upgrade. They're all getting their moment to be in a different fabrication now.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see a lot of this in stores as we look. You don't have to look far for things like this. Just keep your eye open when you're in wherever you shop. Like I said, whether it's, on Fifth Avenue, on Madison Avenue in New York City, or if it's at the local mall, wherever that may be, there's going to be a version of that at different price points. So what are some of the things you're seeing that's on your radar for fall?
I know we mentioned a little bit earlier, definitely robes or robe-like coats with the tie, and then shirling and or now faux fur, because, faux fur is a huge push within the fashion industry to move away from regular fur. That's another topic. I still love both.
Yes, another show.
Another show. That segues into faux fur coats. Also the 80s. I saw a little bit of 80s for fall. And also within the specific category of red, and like red hot like leather or like tights, or the 80s like lined skirt, like oversized proportions matched with a little bit of tailoring, Dolce & Gabbana, Gucci, and like a little glitz. 80s rocker chic-ish kind of. That was another one.
And I love that, and I think that let's talk, the average person, me, you.
Yeah.
How are we wearing this?
Yes.
I'm just saying,
Totally.
obviously, I love that. We're not celebrities. We're not supermodels walking on the catwalk. So how are we going to wear stuff like that? I think that's important to share. as I always say, pair everything back with a neutral and a little doses. We talked recently about the coffee date.
Yes.
Think of it as like dating. You want to try something, but you know if you're not ready for the full-blown, you know, 2-hour dinner date. So meet for a coffee date. Well, that's how you can introduce a trend. Meet for a coffee date. You know, just try a little bit. Red leather, first of all, I think if I said that to 90% of my clients, they would be fearful.
Yes.
And I hope that we get to the point where they're not, but I understand, you know, people don't like change often, especially when it's outside of their comfort zone. But let me tell you, picture this, a red burgundy, dark red or wine Merlot color blazer from, let's say, J. Crew, a company, a brand that's pretty conservative, preppy, right? Very tailored. It's nipped in at the waist. It's a lapel collar, so one little button, and it's very classic. And you're pairing it with camel color wool trousers. How beautiful would that be?
Beautiful,
right?
beautiful.
So when you say red leather, I know people sometimes reaction would be like, oh, and think like 80s rock, which we love that too,
Totally.
but it's not for everyone.
Yep.
So you have to think, you know, like, well, what shade of red is for you and how are we going to wear it? So again, I always say pairing it back to a neutral and a classic silhouette. So those boring beige pants that sit in your closet or the boring A-line skirt that sits in your closet, you're going to zhuzh it up with a red leather piece, whether it's a blazer or a coat or maybe a little moto jacket.
Absolutely.
Something very cute.
That's what I was going to say. For a moto jacket.
I like it. I love it. I love it. I also wanted to say, mention something about the 80s, 90s trend, all that stuff, even Y2K. A lot of these pieces that we're seeing now, you can also find in thrift stores.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I feel like, oh, what a great source to, you know, especially if you want to try something, you don't want to spend a lot. I definitely, that has to be an upcoming episode. We got to talk thrift and vintage, and we will, because that's great. One of my favorite topics. And one of my favorite things to do is vintage shop. But, you know, just to kind of lightly touch on it, I think that's a great source to find pieces that you can then wear of what they're kind of showing in magazines right now in a current way and something to try.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I love chatting about trends with you, and I wanted to end the show today with a stylist tip of the day. I'd like to end every episode with this. So I'm going to give one.
Okay.
You're going to give one. Okay. My stylist tip of the day is, so speaking of vintage, hit the thrift or vintage shops, and specifically men, women, whichever you want, look for a vintage belt. And it doesn't have to be vintage. It should be a belt, a big statement, bold belt. I like vintage. I say vintage because usually it adds a little more character. And add it to almost any outfit, it's going to change. So picture just a plain old black suit or a plain old black jacket you've got. Doesn't matter how much it was or how little it was. Add a vintage belt to it, and instantly you breathe new life into the jacket. People I'm sure will say, wow, where did you get that belt or the blazer or whatever? And it just gives it a totally different dimension with just a belt. It's like the power of an accessory can make or break an outfit. So that's my tip for the day.
Oh, yeah, or belt it around an overcoat or something, you know? Oh, my gosh, I love mine is going to segue into, I had a general one, but I'll say it at the end. But I would say mine was go big or go home, in lieu of the fact that I think that everybody should have a great statement coat for fall. I think if you don't have one, you should have one. I think that is that piece of confidence that really seals the deal. At any length, it could be a cropped bomber, which we saw a lot on the runway, a long trench coat. You rock coats like nobody's business. So does my mom. And I love that option. So I would say why don't you color outside the lines of it and get a little uncomfortable and try something that might be a little scary, but that has some presence. So
statement coat, would you say a color? Or would you say stick with a neutral? You're saying just like a different silhouette.
I think a different silhouette. I'll be more specific, and probably in a neutral. It just, if you want to go, if you want to go really big and not go home, then go for the color. But yeah, I think that's something easy to acquire, to add on when we're going into colder weather.
Yeah, I love it. I love that. And you could literally, what my favorite thing about coats, as you know, is you could have on pajamas underneath and no one would know.
Yes.
You could be the mommy in the pickup, the school pickup. You could be running the grocery store.
Yes.
You could be doing anything and you have a fabulous coat on. No one knows what's underneath. No one has to know. But you look great. You look great and you looked pulled together.
Exactly.
Right? Love it.
Pajama silk set, coat, and a heel. Go. Go, baby, go.
We're styling people now. Love it. Love it. Love you, Cole. Thank you again for joining me here in the fashion department. Join us next time for more scoop du jour and fashion insight on the fashion department. Thanks for joining me in the fashion department. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. For more inspiration and fashion content, check out my website and follow along on Instagram at wardrobe_envy. And a special thanks to the Factory Underground Studio for recording and producing this show. See you next time.